How did you get into music photography?
By accident. I was just, well, I started out as a fashion photographer, then became an editorial photographer. And of course, I often went to gigs and shot pictures, which I did at one time of my partner's band. And he sent those pictures through to the management of Status Quo, who promptly hired me. And then it dawned on me that you actually could consider that a job, because before that I thought it was just for fun. So that's where I made the transition.
Did anyone in particular inspire you in the early years when you were doing music photography?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm a big fan of Linda McCartney, but before Paul, when she was still working for Rolling Stone magazine, because she has a sense of humor in her pictures, which I liked. And of course the first Rolling Stone magazine photographer, Baron Wolman, he's a huge inspiration for me.
And what does the job entail?
Suffering. A lot of waiting, a lot of patience. It's actually basically capturing a performance, an event, telling the story for the people who weren't there, or as a memory for the people who were there. And that's basic. I'm basically the communicator between what's happening and the public.
And you've worked, well, we're here at the Royal Albert Hall event, you've worked at well over 200 times. And I, of course, worked with you through this. And so there are generally three types of shoot here, aren't there? There's the press job, for the Royal Albert Hall job, and for the artist job, essentially. Yeah. What's the difference? What's the difference in gigs for you?
Oh, there is a difference. When I shoot for the Albert Hall, I always think the artist in context with the building. And so it's a different look. And when it's the artist in the center and the building in the background. When I shoot for you, it's the building in the foreground and the artist in the background.
So, do you remember the first time you came to the Royal Albert Hall?
I do remember the sensation, the emotion, because it was the first time I entered here and we were sort of let loose. And I was shooting from one side, wanted to shoot from the other side, and kept running around in circles and never found the door to enter the other side that I had in my head. And I remember coming home and thinking, like, I'm never doing that again. That's just impossible to work there. I thought I needed a map to show me where to go. That was my first time.
And you got used to it eventually. You just keep walking around in circles, right?
I still walking around in circles, but now I know all the nook and crannies of this hall.
What are the challenges of shooting in a venue like this?
The challenges, well, there's a couple. First of all, because of the shape, because it's a circle, people often think it's easy, but it's not, because there's no straight lines in the Albert Hall, and I like my straight lines. I can't get them here, so that's quite frustrating. But it's also because of the audience, it's often seated. You have to respect the audience, they're paying. You have to be discreet. So there's quite a few challenges. Also, it depends on gig to gig. The hall can be beautiful when everything is lit, and it can be non-existent when it's only the stage that's lit, and then it becomes a challenge.
And you're over 200 shows that you've shot here. Loads of these shots have ended up on the walls around the corridors, around the building. So millions of people will see your work every year. Does that fill you with pride? Do you get excited to see your work on the walls?
No. I usually walk head down past it. I've actually once had it, I can't remember which gig it was, but there was somebody looking at a picture of mine, and I cringe when I see that. And he turns around, and for some reason he knew who I was. And he said, "Oh, here, she's the photographer." And I thought, oh no, please go away. I should be proud, but I don't like to look at my own work. I do my work, I have this little moment of excitement, and then it's gone for me. So you guys make me suffer having to look at it each time.
Can only apologise for the amount. Have you had a favourite gig here in particular to work?
I've had a few actually. There have been a few that I came out on a real high. My ultimate favorite was of course Heart, because I always was a fan of the band, and then I got to work with them. It was amazing. I also remember the Huus Meeuws, the Dutch singer, because of the public. They were just absolutely crazy, such fun. And also Iggy Pop. It was supposed to be a little bit of a challenge because I was not allowed to be seen and close and all that. But then he crowd surfed, he jumped into the crowd, and I just went with it, jumped into the crowd as well. And that was just fun, really fun.
Iggy Pop, that was the greatest gig I've ever
Oh
seen.
yeah, for me as well, it's
Yeah.
one on the top there.
So people may often see you at the start of a gig. You've got this really incredible ticket, really. You can get on the stage sometimes, you're right up the front. Are you able to enjoy much of the performance, or are you in work mode?
I don't see anything. A lot of people ask that. I don't see anything. I zone in to it, and for me it's creating, it's organizing, it's shapes, it's lines, trying to get the line straight, it's shadows, it's constantly, and the gig itself is like gone.
And if you're a fan of the artist who's performing, does that add a different element? Is there a pressure?
No. From the beginning, I've been very strict on myself to not get absorbed in, I like this, because I have to be neutral communicator between the artist and the public. And if I put my own emotion in it, then I will shoot like for Heart, they're two sisters. I love Anne singing. So if I would let myself go, I would just shoot her. I can't do that. I have to do the whole performance, so I have to stay neutral.
And you've worked directly with so many artists. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, James Taylor, Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran. Is there something that you've learnt about musicians through your work up close with them?
Yes. The more successful they are, the harder they work. They are really hard workers. A lot of people only see the glamour side of it. But if you see the other side of it, they work very, very hard. They have very little personal life. They are constantly on the ball. They are dragged from interview to rehearsal to this, that. It's incredible. Would never want to change with them.
And what do you see your role with them as being?
Again, I try to understand what they're trying to give to their audience. Sometimes they have a message, sometimes it's brand, sometimes it's ideas that they want to bring to their public, and I just try to capture that. I try to translate that through images.
But images tell such a huge story throughout all artists, so much music history. So, I mean, you're obviously shy about reflecting on a lot of your work, but there must be a sense of excitement about having contributed to that for artists.
Oh, I've never thought of that. Yeah. No. I do feel a little bit of pride of shooting at Albert Hall, because nearly 150 years, and I'm like this little particle in the history. I've documented a little particle of that, and that does make me proud. I think I'm just, I've done that. I've been in that little chain of history, which I think is beautiful. For artists, for me, it's just a job. It's just a job, and I try to do my job as good as possible. Whether I like the music or not, whether I like the person or not, doesn't matter. I just try to do my best.
And the Hall, you've said before, is your favourite venue, but it also sounds like a nightmare to get the right shots at. Why is it your favourite?
Well, there's different reasons. First of all, because of the amount of times I've been here, I know it so well, which makes my job a little bit easier, because, during the first 3 songs, I sort of get the feel of what the light show is going to be, what the artist is going to be, what the audience is going to be. And I immediately will think like this, that I'm going to do. I can do that because I know it so well. I also know exactly what kind of shots I'm going to get where. So it's less of hard work in that I just know what to do. But it's also the people. I've learned to get to know the people who work here, yourself, but also the stewards, security people at the stage door. And it's nice. It's nice to walk through those corridors and have people say, "Oh, Christie, you're here. Oh, hi." You know, it's nice. It's like going to work then, because I'm sort of part of a big group.
As long as they're not standing in front of one of your pictures.
Oh God, no.
Is there an artist, kind of, maybe even living or dead, who you would just love to be able to work with?
Yeah, well, I've missed the boat on Tina Turner. I would have always loved, I mean, she was a ball of fire. Would have loved that. I got to shoot the one who plays in the West End, and that's as close as I ever would get to it. But no, that was my dream, but hasn't happened.
That'd be the dream. Camera geeks be very annoyed if I didn't ask you what kit you use. I know you've got your camera sat right here. What is it that you use?
I have two bodies. They're Canon. I've been shooting Canon for 35 years. This is a 5D Mark IV. I usually carry two cameras, one with the 24-70 and then one that I can zoom and get things up tight, up close.
I'll let you get back to using it. Thank you so much.